This week on the Sega Lounge, as everyone is excited / apprehensive / infuriated by the Nintendo Switch 2, we look back on the original Switch and Sega's output for Nintendo's first hybrid console. Stick around as we name what we think are the best Sega games on the system. Hello and welcome to the Sega Lounge, a podcast that is all about Sega in all its forms, the music, the games, the community, and all things in between. And for this episode number 254, it's also about Nintendo. I'm your host, Casey, and I'll explain why in a little bit. I'm joined today by two amazing guests. We have Mr. Green Viper 8. Hello.
Hello. Back
Welcome.
again.
Back again, yeah. Regular contributor to the Sega Lounge. And we have videographer, former host of the Nintendo Lounge as well, as I recalled earlier today, Dr. Scottnick.
G'day guys, how's it going? It's Dr. Scottnick of Nintendo Lounge here. How you going?
Very Aussie, very Aussie. Thank you for that. I'll use subtitles for that part. For everyone.
Don't worry. I won't do that voice for the whole thing. I won't. Don't worry.
Great to have you here, Scott, as well. So, guys, it's time to talk about the Nintendo Switch. Following the recent announcement, the expected,
Maybe still recent.
still much anticipated announcement of the upcoming release of the Switch 2, and everyone's excited about paying money for that system, it seems. But I thought it would be a good idea to dedicate a whole episode to Sega games released on the Nintendo Switch, right? Which there were a few of them. There we go. That's an example right there, and we're gonna go through that. So here's how the episode will go, by the way. We're going to talk a little bit about our thoughts on the Switch, overall thoughts on the Switch, this generation or this console and how it went. Then we're going to pick our top three, or two top threes, actually. Top three Switch exclusives. So Sega games, obviously. This is the Sega Lounge still. And then we'll talk about...
Nintendo Lounge. Not
Nintendo Lounge.
Very different.
Boo, Nintendo, boo. And then we'll talk about the top three Sega games on the Switch that were also available on other platforms, right? So we'll just mix it up a little bit. And maybe if we have time, as someone suggested, and I just saw in the outline, maybe some obscure Sega releases. That's a very good topic. Thank you, Scott, for suggesting that. And then, depending on how we are in terms of time, we'll maybe share some thoughts on the Switch 2 so far, in terms of what we already know about the system. So let's start with the Switch 1. The one that's still in active duty. We're still holding on, yes. Barely. So I want to hear from you guys. Thoughts on this console. And maybe you can... So the Switch was released 8 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, 2017. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
March 2017. I remember that very fondly.
March the 3rd.
There we go. I actually pre-ordered the system. I picked it up on day one. What about you guys? Viper, let's start with you.
I definitely didn't. I desperately wanted it, as with the Wii U before it, but I was a bit more punctual this time compared to most systems. I think I got it within a couple months, actually. I thought it looked so cool, wanted to save for it. The Sega titles that were on offer were really nice. And got it and loved it. I mean, I'm sure, as my comment might have already alluded to, definitely getting up there a bit in years and hardware age. But for its time and for the first couple of years, I adored the system, still use it quite a lot. Well, the topic of this episode, playing Sega games on it, only if it's an exclusive at this point, I guess.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Couldn't imagine why.
The hardware is a bit dated. Yeah. Okay, a bit. Scott, what about you? Did you pick it up at launch or later?
Yes, I did. So the Nintendo Switch was the first ever console I ever pre-ordered ever. I remember trying to be the first in line for it as well. I went to the shops really early, got there about 6 a.m. The store was going to open at 8 a.m. I was the first one there. The store that I was going to buy it from, EB Games, was upstairs in the shopping center. That part was cornered off. You know, you weren't allowed in there until around 8 a.m. And then around 7:30, 7 o'clock-ish, everyone's starting to arrive to line up for the Switch. Just about time for the store's opening, the security guard goes, all right, everyone, let's head to EB Games. But this guy here, he was first in line. So make sure you all stand behind him. And I was like, yes, I'll be the first in line for the Nintendo Switch at my local shopping center. So we got the escalator, we go to EB Games, and I see these two guys already standing outside EB Games. Somehow, I think they had a friend who worked at a different store. They let them in a back door. And they managed to sneak all the way to the front of EB Games before us regular folk could get there. So in my heart, morally, I was the first person to get the Nintendo Switch at my local shopping center. And I've just loved the Switch ever since.
So you were the third then. Okay.
I always aim to be third in line.
Yeah, like this guy comes first, okay? This guy, and then there are two other guys who teleported there magically.
Teleported,
Not after those immoral guys.
Immoral guys,
Exactly.
yeah. I've got the first immoral Switch. Yeah,
I hope
I'm
their
the
Switch broke.
second
I
immoral
hope
Switch.
it broke.
I hope they had Joy-Con drift.
Exactly. I
I'm
never
sure
did in
they
my
did.
life. I never have.
Oh, I had.
Yes.
I'm sure they had Joy-Con drift, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm with you. I actually pre-ordered it, as I said before. I don't know if I was the first one. I don't think I was. I picked it up like in the early afternoon, I believe. And I loved it so much at the time. I think it was one of the few systems, and probably like in recent times, in recent years, now that I'm older, the only one that I was genuinely obsessed with ever since the announcement. It actually got to me in a way that I was like finding things about it online, like looking it up and trying to find videos of people talking about it.
Should I make a Nintendo lounge? Should I not?
Exactly. Should I just switch gears here?
My alliance is with Nintendo from now on. It's
But
fine.
someone bit me to it.
No
And
naming names.
I was really obsessed with Breath of the Wild, which is still one of my favorite games ever. So that took up my life for a few months, and yeah, and in terms of overall thoughts, I think it was really a breath of fresh air in many senses. It was the first time you could actually pick up a system and like just like connect it to your TV and just pick it up and take it on the go. Done so easily and so seamlessly, right?
Now they're everywhere.
But even
You got your
now,
Steam Deck, you got your ROG allies.
but even now, it's not as seamless as it is with the
Yeah,
Switch,
definitely.
right? It's more of a
Twitch is still
chore.
king in that regard.
Yeah. You still have like to adjust settings and like use USB-C cables or docks or whatever, and it doesn't
I forgot
work
to update my
properly.
game.
With the Switch, it's always just low settings. It's always
Yeah,
low graphics.
exactly.
You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I wonder what that means for the Switch too. That you have like different options like quality settings and performance settings and stuff. But I'm sure it's as seamless as before. But that was something I remember taking my Switch everywhere. Not that I left the house that much, and then came the pandemic, which worsened things even more. But whenever I got out, I took my Switch with me. I remember playing like Puyo Puyo Tetris, which was a big thing when it came out on the Switch. I bought it again, and I remember playing it with the Joy-Cons, with people, with friends, in the car. Stuff that happened. Yeah. Good
While
memories.
driving or
Not while driving, unfortunately. Yeah. But would be nice. right?
unfortunately.
Amateur.
Yeah, I don't have the skills. I'm not a pro gamer. That would be immoral.
I would never.
I'm sure those two guys do that. They play the
All the
Switch while
time.
driving. Those two first guys.
Those guys.
Yeah, we hate them.
Can't trust them.
I hope they're listening to this. We hate you. Yeah, so that's it. In terms of like Sega games on the system, there was decent support, right? Was there
Very
something that
decent.
surprised you guys that came to the Switch and you weren't expecting it? There we go.
Just a few games.
There it is.
There it is. So Viper, did anything surprise you in these past 8 years?
There was like certainly like a couple odd weird ports. I'm actually gonna attempt to pull up that document you sent me in regards to it, because I remember the big one that everyone begged for years was Persona 5, and by the time that happened, that was so far gone that it was admittedly a little less surprising. But that was the one that like always
Mhm.
stuck out to me. But certainly like day and date, a lot of things always made their way over, which I guess is to be expected from stuff like Sonic. But given the previous generation where that hadn't happened at all, actually thinking back on it, the fact that, say, I guess Sonic Mania is not surprising, but like Sonic Forces being day and date on Switch, for example, compared to Wii and Wii U, we'd never had that parity since what, GameCube? That was the only time, right, that
Yeah,
Sega released the exact same game on
for
all
sure.
consoles. So it doesn't feel surprising anymore because it's been such a long generation for Nintendo. But I guess that actually is, when you think back on it, like to how things were, that actually is quite a big shift in strategy, and seems like going forward they're going to continue it now with
Mhm.
Switch 2. So yeah, I guess almost like everything multi-platform getting a place on Switch 2 of Switch 1, sorry, as boring of an answer as that is. It's actually still quite shocking thinking about it.
It is. It is. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. What about you, Scott? Anything that stood out
Um,
like you weren't
the
expecting?
thing that probably stood out to me the most was just the amount of Sega IP that's actually on this console. There's so much. You got your Sonics, of course, and like the mainstays of like the current era. But then you had like the revival of Samba de Amigo, for example, Super Monkey Ball. We even had Shining on the Nintendo Switch, which is crazy. We had other publishers create games using Sega IP like Panzer Dragoon, House of the Dead, the Wonder Boy series. There's just so much Sega IP on the Nintendo Switch, but not Shenmue 1 and 2 HD collection, huh?
Boo.
Where is it?
Boo!
You got a lot
Boo.
to explain for Sega,
Yeah. In games will take care of that with
right?
Exactly.
the Switch 2.
I,
Or maybe
I can't
both.
wait for Shenmue 3 on the Switch 1. I'm sure it's going to run
Yeah.
amazingly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so let's jump right into the top 3 games, right? So the idea here is first of all focus on exclusive games, which there are a few, and then we'll talk about a few, and then we'll talk about the multi-platform ones. And like just a side note here, it's nice that Sega is doing multi-platform more and more, and instead of focusing on exclusive titles, I think. Although there are a few, like we said, for the Switch, a few exclusives. Uh, but I believe, I don't know. Do you guys think the best ones are the multi-platform ones, or I don't know?
Categorically, yeah, just because I think we're gonna run into each other here with how few exclusives there are. Because, like you say, it's not Sega's game to really do that anymore. I'm kind of surprised. The last what, Samba de Amigo makes sense, obviously from the motion controller perspective, but like Monkey Ball being an exclusive was quite a surprise, for example.
For sure.
So otherwise, they've not done it. So yeah,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, those were surprises for sure. Yeah. Okay, so let's jump into the top 3 exclusive Sega games, or Sega games exclusive to the Switch. And we could go from 3 to 1, from number 3 to number 1. Maybe we'll mix it up and start with Scott.
Oh
What say
gosh,
you?
well I've got a 3, but I don't have them in order.
It's
These are just
okay.
random order.
Yeah,
All right.
it's okay.
So my first choice will probably have to be the game I was most anticipating to come to the Switch. Ever since the Switch got announced, I always wanted this title to come back. It hadn't been around since the Nintendo Wii days. I actually loved it on Wii. A lot of people hated the Wii version of this game, but I loved it, and I couldn't wait for this to come out on Switch. And then they wait until 2023 to release it, and I'm like, guys, come on. You've taken this long to release Somebody Amigo for the Nintendo
Yee.
Switch. It's so much fun. Biggest pet peeve I have with this game, though, is that it was released on both Nintendo Switch but also Apple Arcade as well.
And
they
VR.
locked and VR, can't forget VR, and they locked all the really really cool stuff to both Apple Arcade and the VR title. The VR title has a Sega collab song. It's got a crossover between Burning Rangers, Knights, Rhythm Thief, Sonic CD, and it's really really cool. At the end of it, you get transported to the Sega world, which is really really cool. On the iOS version, Apple Arcade version, there's a story mode exclusive to Apple Arcade. It's not even on the Switch version. What's going on? And also, one of my favorite songs of all time is exclusive to the Apple Arcade version. The
I
song
knew this would
"Daddy" by
happen.
Psy. And but aside from those quarrels I have with the game, I think it's a really really fun title. I've played it with heaps of my friends when they come over. I'm like, all right, we're gonna play some Somebody Amigo, and
We
everyone
don't
loves
want
it. And it's
to.
always a fun
We're
time.
gonna play
They're
it.
like, please, can we please leave now? We've been here for 4 hours. I go,
We want to
no,
play Mario
we're playing
Kart.
2 more games.
No.
But yeah, Somebody Amigo, love it. I bought this copy when I was in Germany for Gamescom, and I happened to walk into a like electronics store 2 days before the game's launch, and it was already on the shelves. So I was like, well, you take that with me. And I went to Gamescom that day, and they're showing off and be like, guys, this is coming out in 2 days. I'm like, well, you should go down the street, guys. They're already selling it.
Yeah. That happens sometimes. They break street gates. So yeah. Viper, thoughts on this? Is this on your list, by the way?
It actually isn't on my list, incredibly. I love this game. I love it as a party game. As a Somebody Amigo game, it's pretty good. It's definitely... The issue that Scott says is the content's so divided between 3 versions. It's like, well, it's a little difficult to say, oh, the Switch version's definitive when, for example, you might want the story mode. I've played it, it's not very good, but you might want it. And yeah, it was like such a weird release timing-wise as well. Like Scott said, I think they teased it back in 2017. The director of the original said he wanted to do it, and it took that long to get it kind of into production. I love this game as a party game, though.
He had to make Forces first. He had to make Forces.
Oh, true. Like this game is great. When you have to pick 3, something has to get lost in the sauce, I guess, and this is one of it. This is one of them, but it's fantastic. So glad we still get a chance to talk about it anyway.
Yeah, I don't have this one on my list either, but I did enjoy it. I bought the maraca, accessories for the Joy-Con. They shake, and they not you shake them, but they have like little like marbles or whatever things inside, and they make noise to make it like more of an authentic feel. I remember we did a special on this with like Skill Gym, and I think Lime. Maybe you were there as well, Viper. I don't know. I can't remember.
I also forgot.
Yeah, but I remember he had the maraca accessories, and I was like, oh my, I need to get this. Like they were like €9 or whatever. I just got them. I used them like twice or something. They're over there. I can see them. They're looking at me in the distance and saying, why? Just a waste of plastic. But it's a fun game. It's a fun game. I also question the timing of this release, to be honest. I do question the timing. I wonder if somehow they thought that like the Switch life cycle would be different.
The Switch was like very much still alive, but from what I know, it didn't do well. So you do almost have to wonder, would the market have been there a couple of years earlier during COVID had they pushed this out the door, for example? Because everyone I know who played it loved it and swore by it, but that was so few people compared to who could have played it, I guess. It never really left its niche circle it was already in when it had the opportunity to do so, like the Wii version did. So, yeah. It's a letdown in that sense, but in terms of actually playing it, it's a great game. It was just let down by the circumstances around it, I think, almost.
Yeah, and much better than the Wii version, I think.
Which definitely.
Like Scott said, people don't really enjoy. I like the Wii one, but to be honest, I never played the Dreamcast version with the maracas and like the mat and stuff. So I didn't really have that original experience, only using the controller. So I'm guessing I don't have a means to compare the two experiences. Maybe people who play the original one, the way that it was supposed to feel the Wii version was lacking in a way. I don't know, maybe, but
Certainly control wise, but
I don't know. Other than that, I enjoyed the Wii one, the Wii version. But this one's much better. Definitely much better. So yeah, that's a top 3 game. We don't know the number, but it's somewhere around between 1
Somewhere.
and 3 on your
Somewhere.
list. Okay, that's a good one. Viper, you're up next. What's your
Sure,
1 to 3?
I did actually put these in order, and
Okay.
I think it's a KC classic, or more specifically, a KC Stream classic.
Ooh.
It barely counts as Sega because they didn't develop it, but they licensed it. Picross S, the Master System and Mega Drive Edition.
Oh, that's fun.
Yes. Yes.
It's
Yes.
I mean, like, I'm not a Picross expert or anything like that, but this was the game that pushed me in the direction of wanting to learn it and wanting to figure it out. There's so many, like, all of these games are very similar, but I just appreciate the coat of paint of this one, unsurprisingly, in particular. And I've played many additional Picross games aside from that, and yet I've never actually finished this one. That's how much content there is to it. So what's that Genesis that says there, Casey?
Yeah, I couldn't find the one that said Mega Drive. We'll work on it.
A shame. But it's a little difficult to talk about Picross because it's like every other Picross game, but this one just, unsurprisingly for that reason, has a special place in my heart as the one that got me to venture into like more of Jupiter's Picross games, as well as like a couple other companies, for example. There was the official Miku one as well, which was, you could tell the difference between in terms of this one felt a little more solid than that one, for example, because it's made by a company, you know, with lots of experience in making these sorts of games. It's almost like it's the at its core, it's the same as the other 9 that are already on the Switch, but that's its strength almost, I guess. And seeing all these old school characters come to life and building them in real time, and the satisfaction of feeling like you solved the puzzle, it's perfection. I love this game.
Yeah.
And I'll sink many more hours into it until it's done.
Excellent. Yeah. Have you played this, Scott?
I'm playing it right now as we speak.
Wait. Let's show
my
it to people. There we go.
My goal for this show today is to finish this one right here by the end of the show, and we'll be able to show you guys what creation I have made. I'm not very good at this. I've done like 2 pages because you got like many different pages and many different characters you can create. I've completed 2 of the pages. I think there's like 10 or something. I think I'm up to like the 15 by 15s, and I'm like, this is a lot for me. But when you get in the zone, when you actually figure it out, when you know what you're doing, I'm like, damn, I'm smart. But at other times, I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm doing at all. I'm just like hoping for the best.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's fun. It's a good time.
It is a good time. So this was on my list, by the way. Unsurprisingly, apparently. This was, I had a hard time like putting the games in order. I probably put this as number 2 on my list, perhaps. This was not my first foray into Picross. My first one was Picross S on the Switch as well. It's a series that is regularly on sale. And that was the reason. I remember I was listening to a podcast and there was someone there who was always like constantly talking about Picross. And I looked at it and I thought, oh, that's another puzzle game that I'm not good at and I'm going to get bored by. But then one day I think they were all of the games, each of them were like $2.99 or $3.99 or whatever. And I decided to pick just the first one, Picross S. And I got hooked. And my wife started to play with me as well, which is something that never happens or almost never happens. She never plays games. And she was really hooked on this as well. And then she moved on because she found like a Picross app, like a Picross game for the phone, and she started doing that with like daily challenges and stuff, and she moved on from the Switch version. But I played Picross S almost to completion, And when they announced this, I was like, yes, this is my jam. Please.
This is for me specifically.
This is for me specifically. This is for me and for one other person in Japan. No, maybe a lot of people in Japan. They're probably crazy about this. But yeah, I don't think I've finished this one either. I don't think I've completed all the puzzles. Something must have come out at some point when I was like playing this every day and I moved over to something else. But it's still one of my favorites on the system. And like you said, Viper, obviously it's no surprise that we like this specific version. But
Yeah.
I would say if you're not familiar with Picross at all, even if you're not a big Sega fan, but it's certainly a good place to start. But obviously, if you're a Sega fan, this is the place to start if you want to get into the Picross series. There are loads and loads of different ones. Like there's Mario, there's like Zelda, I believe. There are a lot of Picross-esque games. I believe so. Picross-esque, I think, is now into its 6th or 7th game on the Switch.
I think they're on like 8 or 9.
Or even, even worse.
My concern is the 3DS ones are Picross E because they're on the eShop. The Switch ones are Picross S because they're on the Switch. So what's the Switch 2 one's going to be? Picross S2. They've already done Picross S2.
Yeah.
I think they're probably scrambling
SS?
around finding out how to...
Double S?
Yeah, that's true. Although...
Maybe. M because of the mouse? Oh, that's
beautiful.
Obviously... Oh, it's Robo?
Obviously.
Okay.
The reveal sometimes catches me off guard with these every time.
I didn't know if it was Robo or Mobile, but okay. It's Robo. Okay.
I've seen some of them where it's like, oh, look, it's Metal Sonic. Is it? Are
you sure? Yeah. But it's definitely a great game. My only, like, it's not even a peeve or anything because I love the songs, but it would be nice to have like a more varied soundtrack. And that goes for the Picross-esque games, the Picross games in general.
Yeah.
Right. You get tired of listening to Passing Breeze for a while. It's like when you're playing Outrun, you're starting, oh no, my God, what's 5, 4, 3, what? 1? You're starting to think in numbers and in pixels and stuff. So it's definitely something that could be improved, but I get it. You can just play with sound off.
Yeah, you very much intended to play with the sound off in these games, I think. But it's a shame because there's so many great Sega songs they could have licensed, and the Alex Kidd theme's a banger, but it's like 30 seconds before it loops. Like, surely someone caught this.
Yes.
So,
we can't be bothered. Yeah. Okay, so that's another game. So that's part of our top 3 as well. So there's the first game that overlaps. Let's move on. Maybe we'll go back to Scott. Your turn.
Okie dokie. So on Nintendo Switch, not only did we get... Sorry, I get my props. Where are my props? Not only did we get Super Monkey Ball, Banana Blitz even, HD. Not only did we get Super Monkey Ball, Banana Mania, but we got an exclusive Nintendo Switch game, Super Monkey Ball, Banana Rumble, which is the latest game in the Super Monkey Ball franchise. Even though this game does have a very, very special place in my heart, I got to do some like official work with Sega for this game, so that game will always have a place in my heart. This one's so much fun. I love this game so much.
I didn't mean to steal your thunder there.
Put the camera back on me. Back on me. Thank you very much.
Just leave it there.
It's for a redesign of the Super Monkey Ball characters, which is the first time in a very, very long time we've seen that. And honestly, thank goodness, because their previous design, it was getting very, very stale. And I think this new look they have for Super Monkey Ball is much more modern and much more approachable to new audiences. I really like the aesthetics of this game. It feels very, very high quality. It feels like a Nintendo published game, aside from the weird frame pacing issues the game has. And also some very and also some very, very weird character choices as well, especially in its DLC. We've got the crewmate from Among Us. We've got Godzilla. We've got Hatsune Miku, Hatsune Miku, I understand. And then we got Red from Angry Birds, the best Sega character, of course.
Of course.
Pac-Man as
But yeah,
well.
just the quality of this game. I was like, you know what? Good job, Sega. Good job. And I really hope this game does eventually come out, maybe on PC, because I feel like it just needs that little bit of a boost in terms of its performance. Hopefully on Switch 2 it'll run a little bit nicer. But overall, I really, really like it. I still need to finish all the stages. I'm on like the DX or extreme stages or whatever they're called. Some of them are quite difficult, but the main story of the game I thought was pretty approachable compared to previous games in the series.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Definitely.
sure. Yeah, I just realized something as you were talking. Sega did what Nintendo no. Sega did what Nintendo did eventually with Donkey Kong, or are doing with Donkey Kong
Oh,
before
yeah.
they even did it. So they redesigned monkeys before Nintendo did, right? So
We're in the
and
era of redesigning monkeys.
yeah,
King
that's
Kong
true.
is next.
For sure.
Watch the space.
Watch this space. Yeah.
Insider knowledge.
Was this on your list? I'm sure it was, Viper.
Do you even need to ask?
Was it number
And-
one?
Yeah, it was number one. Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of things you don't need to ask, 'cause I'll mention the performance, and you could guess that I'm also going to bring that up as well. But yeah, definitely looking forward to this on Switch too. And I've said it a million times before. We are pretty confident there's at least a working PC build internally from screenshots they accidentally uploaded. So come on, guys, come on. But in terms of being forced to play it on Switch, aside from like a couple weird issues with like dropped inputs and things, which never really killed me as much as it's done in other games, but aside from that, like perfect platform for it. Monkey Balls, unsurprisingly, they would have looked at the sales data for the last two games and seen it was most popular on Switch to warrant this. So they kind of got to have their cake and eat it too, because they got paid to leave it on the most successful platform of the bunch. So worked out nicely for them. As Scott said, the DLC is very weird, but I actually love that because it feels like they took the throne and ran with it from what the last game did with, well, it had like Hello Kitty and Shuezo and things like that, didn't it? Which all got delisted within a year, which was really silly. I mean, they own Morgana. You don't have to delist Morgana, but
Yeah.
whatever. But this one feels like they looked at that and went, okay, let's just make this completely nuts. And Angry Birds, there you go. It's great.
And Pac-Man. Pac-Man as well.
Oh, can't
I
forget
was so
Pac-Man.
happy about Pac-Man.
Yeah. I really need to you have to pay for that, but that's why
Sure do.
I was holding
It
off
is
on that a
very
little bit.
overpriced. Very
Yeah,
overpriced.
but
Yeah.
I'm really tempted to go back and like, because I haven't played everything. I haven't completed the single player mode either, like all the extra stages and stuff. And so I'm really tempted to just pay for this and play everything as Pac-Man or like the Among Us crewmate or something. So yeah,
And stuff like that's working perfectly at Trojan Horsing the series because, for example, some in-laws played it who never would have played it before because it had the crewmate in it. And I know a lot of similar
That's pretty
stories.
sus. That's pretty sus of them, I have to say.
I'm not continuing this. I'm not enabling him. But like,
Yeah.
I think it's a good strategy compared to how they've done it before. So I'm all for it. As Scott said, it's a little expensive, but I'm going to pay for it anyway, aren't I? I've fully cast myself into this box at this point. So
So
I love
I'm
this
going to
game.
help you with your like regret and your guilt feelings. Because if this is actually playable on the Switch 2, which I'm sure it is, and it actually plays better, it's just like an investment, like the Nintendo
Exactly,
Switch 2
Casey.
edition price, like the tax, the $10 or €10 or pounds or whatever. You usually pay for the Switch 2 editions.
I mean, I've paid for like £40 worth of DLC, but £10 for the Switch 2 upgrade. We can call it equal, okay?
Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah, just details. Just what's math? I don't know. I
True,
don't
actually
know.
true.
I can't even understand that. This was on my list as well. This was my number 3. So overlapping galore here, but yeah, I'm not very good at monkey ball games. I'm not very good at games in general, obviously, but at monkey ball games. However, I think Banana Mania was the first one that I really enjoyed playing. and we talked
You
about
didn't
it
enjoy
on the
Banana
show.
Blitz HD? Come on.
So Banana Mini was the first one that I really enjoyed, as I was saying. But this one I really, really loved. I have a feeling that people don't really enjoy the multiplayer that much. At least
Yeah.
from our experiences as well, right? Viper, we played that
From having played it together, you got the impression we didn't enjoy
once,
it.
and I don't really see people talking about this. Sega and Nintendo were like pushing the multiplayer
Oh,
of
hugely.
this
Yeah.
hugely, but I don't think people were that excited about it or as excited as they were apparently.
Oh, what's worth pointing out about that is there was like Fortnite. There we go, another mention for Scott of Fortnite, Among Us,
Yo.
etc. There's like an in-game season thing that's every season you can unlock these cosmetics. They discontinued that quite recently, like ahead of schedule, but they're still releasing DLC. So I think that tells you which part of the game was more successful, the multiplayer or the single player. So
That said, they're also releasing new multiplayer
yeah,
modes, which
they are still going above and beyond.
I don't know.
That,
I do wonder how popular this game is, because I don't see it being mentioned that much anywhere.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm in the wrong circles here. I'm I'm not looking at the right places, but I don't see it being mentioned apart from like people who really love the series and who are even hardcore Nintendo fans. I think I've said this many times before. There's a big overlap between Nintendo fans and Super Monkey Ball fans because obviously the first two are on the GameCube first. People really enjoy it. But still, I don't feel like this was as popular as it should have been. But I could be wrong because
Yeah.
Sega keeps supporting this, which is kind of confusing
I would
to me.
say that they with Samba de Amigo as well, that kind of had a roadmap of DLC after its launch. So, and I know Sega and kind of like their investment meetings and all that kind of stuff, so that they want to expand the lifetime of a game to give it more value over time, all that kind of thing. So I'm sure they're kind of like dipping their toes in that with Samba de Amigo, with all the songs that they added over time, and then with Super Monkey Ball. The only problem I felt with it recently is when the game first came out, the DLC characters were coming out every few months after, maybe like 2 months
Yeah.
after, 3 months after, and then Pac-Man and Angry Birds released within a month of each other. So it makes me go, oh, they're kind of just like, all right, let's just get this out of the way now, just release it. While people are talking about Pac-Man, just get rid of it, put Red out there as well. Let's move on, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think
That's what I feel like it's been like.
I think it was like Miku. I don't know if Miku was one of those that got released very recently. Can't remember, but it was like
Miku
Among
was
Us,
the same day
Pac-Man.
as Godzilla, I think.
Okay, Godzilla,
Yeah.
obviously, yeah, that makes sense. That amazing Sega character,
Obviously.
obviously. We had Pac-Man, Among Us, and Red. I think was the next week, or even not a week after they announced it. I think it was.
It was like
they
a
were-
week or two or something
Was
between
it that
Pac-Man and
much?
Red. Yeah, I don't think it was very long, but it was long enough
No.
to not be like a week.
Okay, maybe, yeah. But I do agree with that. They were like, okay, so we have all these characters. Let's just release them all together, almost.
It's probably also like worth pointing out that Samba de Amigo had a similar roadmap that only lasted like 4 months. I think from August to December.
Mhm.
Monkey
That's
Balls
right, yeah.
originally only lasted till like September of 2024, and that was when it was going to run out. And then they went, no, actually, we're still going to keep updating it. So you'd argue there was at least somewhat interest because of that. If they made a new roadmap that's going for like nearly a year after launch at this point. So I
be.
half wonder because, as you say, Casey, I don't really hear much buzz about this game, especially right now when it came out, certainly, but it's not stayed in circles of conversation with Sega or Nintendo fans at all. So look at that.
Maybe Namco
character roster,
fans.
by the way.
Maybe Namco fans.
We
Who
need something,
knows?
okay?
Yeah, but I mean, it's great. It's great that especially if this is, as I said, if this is playable on the Switch too. I can see this becoming like a staple, like a party game staple, between Sega fans and Nintendo fans, but it needs more buzz, I think. Like, people need to talk about this more. It's really a good game. And it's very, there's we didn't talk about the, it's not the spin dash, but they call it something else, I believe.
Something.
Uh,
I think it is
I
called the
think-
spin dash.
Is it
Yeah,
the
it
spin
is
dash?
called the spin dash.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it the same? Okay. How
Yeah,
original.
very original.
But it actually adds a new measure of depth to the gameplay. It's like it's brings new possibilities to the table, which I think are fun. I'm not a seasoned veteran, monkey ball veteran, but Viper, I know you are. So
I'm hardly
I do
a
believe.
veteran, but I love me some monkey ball.
But I believe you were excited about that as well. You liked that mechanic, right?
Oh, I think everything they either changed or added is like before it's been questionable. This time round, it really feels like it's come from a place of like refinement. And even if this isn't a perfect game in a lot of people's eyes, I think it's a huge step in the right direction. Everyone's generally agreed, but me, I love it. I think everything they've added's great. The spin dash adds a lot to levels and helps with beginners and everything. So they've come a long way in regards to like bringing new things into the series to bring new people in as well. So I just hope it sticks. As for everything with Sega, I hope they stick with it and hope it sticks.
Yeah. Do you guys think it would benefit? There we go. Let's
Oh,
show.
beautiful.
Very
We
beautiful.
got the
Nice.
limited of 2000 Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble vinyl, which is very, very cool.
Very nice.
I managed to find this at a random record store
Oh.
about 30 minutes
Oh?
from where I live. And I was like,
Really?
oh, well, I have to buy it if that's there.
That's lucky. Do you guys
Exactly.
think the game would benefit from obviously PC? That's yes, of course, it would benefit from releasing on PC, but from other consoles as well, or is there not an audience
Not
for
as
that?
much, definitely. PlayStation maybe, Xbox no,
Yeah.
not really. But I think most devs are at that point with Xbox as well. So
Yeah,
I don't think it's hardly surprising.
add it to Game Pass. Maybe.
That's true. Something like that could actually work in its favor.
Yeah.
Or PlayStation Plus, or everyone has a Game
Mhm.
Pass now, don't they? Put it on EA's. There you go.
UB whatever. UB Play?
Yeah.
Okay. Coming soon to your Sega account,
Oh boy.
and you can play it for free or not.
I can't
You
wait.
can
Did
play
you
it
get an
for
email
free
about that
if
recently?
you pay $10 a month. What, sorry?
Did you get an email about the
I did.
Sega account thing recently?
I did.
Yes.
I think we all did.
I'm,
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what will come with that.
Yeah.
I mean, it exclusively serves for me for like a dragon costume. So anything else is a bonus. They got my data.
Yes, that's the most important thing. We want to help them, like by giving them our
Please.
data. Yeah,
Please collect my valuable data.
please.
I'll give it to you for free.
I'll give it directly to you. This is
Back
a
on the
Nintendo
Nintendo
show
mind
after
again.
all episode. Okay, so that's our top. I think we've already discussed 2 games each, I believe.
Yeah.
Even
Yes.
without noticing. So all that's left is one for each of us, and I believe it's going to be a different one for each of us.
We'll see. We'll see.
Let's start with I'm. Let's go.
You're hoping.
Let's go. Panzer Dragoon remake. Scott, what's your
All
final game? Final exclusive
So-
Sega game.
Some will say that this is not a Sega game anymore. Some would say that this is a Nintendo game.
Oh,
It
I see where you're
depends on
going
who
with
you
this.
ask. So back in the day, Platinum Games and Sega released Bayonetta on Xbox and PS3. Years into the future, people want Bayonetta 2, but Sega's like, no, we don't have the money for that right now. So Nintendo on Nintendo Wii U, they're like, all right, we'll make you Bayonetta 2. But of course, no one buys a Wii U, so no one plays it except for me. I played it. I love Bayonetta 2. Such a great game. Then the Switch comes out, and they're like, well, we've got to re-release it. We've got to actually make money this time. So they release Bayonetta 2 with Bayonetta 1 included as a DLC code.
I'm going to steal your code.
But people were
Tough luck.
mad. People were mad about the code. So they finally did release Bayonetta physically on the Switch as well.
Jealous.
They even made a Bayonetta prequel game, which is very, very cool. But the big boy for Nintendo Switch was Bayonetta 3 for
I
the
knew
Switch.
it.
A really, really fun multiverse story starring Bayonetta and a mysterious character. Really, really enjoy the kind of the cinematic aspects of this game in terms of its story. It's very, very big budget, big action, which I love. Maybe a little bit too ambitious for Nintendo Switch. Again, I'm looking forward to playing this on a Switch 2 when I can afford it, to hopefully play at a stable frame rate, because the game runs and looks a bit choppy in certain points. But when the game works, it's absolutely amazing. It's so much fun. Yeah, the only thing I have against it is just the frame rate and the visuals at points when there's too much going on. But yeah, absolutely love Bayonetta, and hopefully we get more in the future. Maybe Platinum, please.
Mhm.
But hopefully in the future with less voice acting dramas, shall we say.
I don't
Okay.
think that'll be a problem going forward if you've finished the game. I don't think she'll be causing any issues going forward.
Oh, okay. Well, I actually haven't finished the game yet. I'm about like 2/3 of the way through. And I was like, and then the Switch 2 got out, so I was like, all right, I'll wait until Switch 2 so I can play at 60 FPS. So I'm excited. I'm assuming Bayonetta dies in the Bayonetta 3 now.
Oh my God. Spoilers.
Spoilers?
I don't
no!
know. I don't know. I haven't played the Bayonetta games. They're sadly not for me, but I do appreciate them, and I appreciate the fact that you guys like it. So, or like them. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we
Viper.
like you, Casey. We like you.
I like you as well. I like myself. Viper, is this on your list?
No, Casey. I
See,
don't
I
like
knew
it.
it.
I don't like this game
we're
very
good, we're
much.
Okay.
Oh, you don't?
No.
So please share something about this game. Please tell us why you don't like it so much.
Well, first of all, I finished it unlike Scott, so I can comment on the entire game.
Maybe that's why I like the game, because I haven't finished it.
I don't know. It's one of those like famous cases of the longer something's in development and hyped up, like the more expectations you're going to have going into it. And the game that I got out of it in the end was a game that, even before the story that I have issues with, just the flat out game itself, I don't feel is ever as solid as Bayonetta 2. I think that game just plays and flows and like controls everything about actually playing the game in Bayonetta 2 for me felt better. Probably also combined with what Scott already mentioned, like the frame rate issues and things like that. You want a high FPS for a game like this, which, Switch can't quite handle it. But there's a lot of that and stuff that I'm not going to go too far into because of spoiling things any more than I might already have. But I don't know, just a lot of a big boots to fill, and ones that never quite felt filled to me. It always just felt like a lesser game to Bayonetta 2 with a more convoluted plot and over engineered gameplay almost, and it lost that simplicity, I think, that made the first two really click with me. Because, like, how would you describe it? It takes a lot from Astral Chain in terms of you can make someone else fight for you, for example, for a bunch of the game. And it's like, they're so much stronger than Bayonetta. Why would I not just spend the entire game fighting with my summon instead of the titular character? Almost, something was just lost in there for me. I think, well, now we know what we know about Platinum. I think that probably contributed a little bit. I think it was probably a messy development behind the scenes, but I want to like this game. I'm going to do a Scott, and when I get my Switch 2, I will be running back through it, seeing what I think, but I don't know. This game should have been like such a piece of me, and instead I remembered while Scott was talking, I have the collector's edition for this game, something I desperately wanted for Bayonetta 1 and 2. And in pride, I think it's at the bottom of my cupboard.
Mine's
I never
right
actually opened
there.
it.
Mine's right there.
So definitely different feelings
Very
between you two.
different,
Very
yeah.
different. One's in the bottom of the cupboard. For Scott, it's right there. So yeah. I have nothing to say. I have nothing to add about this. So I trust you two.
I feel like you might like this one, Casey. I feel like you might like
Yeah.
Cereza and Lost Demon. I feel like that might be
that
more
one
up
I
your alley.
heard mixed reactions to as well. People,
It's very
is it-
different. Very different.
it's like
compared to the other
a
games.
side-scrolling like platformer, right? In a way, beat
Not
'em up.
side-scrolling, more kind of like top-downy kind of.
It's like a top-down puzzle platformer. Like the
Okay.
art style is very like a storybook almost. It's like very grounded in folk tale instead of fantasy or whatever Bayonetta normally is.
Okay. Maybe I'll check it out on the Switch too. Maybe
Hey,
for just 500.
just
Okay. Thank you, Scott. Viper. What's your number one? I think no. Number one was Monkey Ball, right?
yeah.
So
My
now
number one was Monkey Ball, unsurprisingly.
So number
but
two, maybe.
Number two, Casey, there's this game that you might quite like, believe it or not. It's called Bayonetta Origins, Cereza and the Lost Demon.
Good job.
I
Good job.
loved
Good.
this
Sounds
game.
good.
Okay.
This was announced post Bayonetta 3, and I already mentioned that just left a very sour taste in my mouth. So when 2 months later they went, we've got a game coming out in 2 months. We know this last one took like 7 years to come out, but this one's coming out in 2 months. I was like, okay. Also, Bayonetta's a child now, and it undoes the backstory of the first game. Okay. And then they put out a playable demo that I played out of sheer curiosity. And I was like, this game is brilliant. It's so removed from what the rest of the series is, and yet really finds its footing almost instantly. I love everything about it. The art style is so different. It tells like a completely different sort of story in the end from what Bayonetta normally does as a series. I mean, the biggest change you can tell is that Bayonetta here is a child, so obviously you have to shift away from a lot of the themes of the series, but in doing so, they find like new things that really work for this game. And I'm gonna have to see some gameplay. We're watching too much story here, but it's like I mentioned, it's a puzzle platformer. It's got some fighting elements. So the Lost Demon in this case being, I think he's related to Bayonetta 3's story from what I remember, but he does all the fighting for you, whereas Cereza kind of runs around and like solves things for him. And you have this like double control scheme dynamic of one control stick controls Cereza and the other one controls the demon. You can kind of see it there. The demon's moving with the right stick, for example. But you just go around like solving these little adventures, finding out about this this forest that you've been stuck in, and it's like a very artsy game, but it's one of those games that just got completely swept under the rug because of the controversy of Bayonetta 3, and Nintendo gave it kind of no press outside of its reveal. But this game just really hit all the right notes for me. It's not like a game I typically would have played, but I heard someone describe it the other day. If they stripped the Sega and Nintendo name from this and just kind of made it like an artsy indie game, then this would have been like a Game of the Year darling. But because it just got no attention, and at the time Kamiya was kind of running his mouth a little bit about this game and Bayonetta 3. I don't know if anyone remembers, he said this game will help with Japan's declining birth rate population or something, because people will find the girl cute. I was like, oh god, stop talking. It's such a good game. Stop talking and ruining this. And it completely distracted from it. And it's such a shame, because everything about this game is just like really, really beautiful. The music, like I said, the art style's so removed, but it's like a storybook. It's very rooted in like Irish folk tales and things like that. It explores just a lot of different themes that I've not seen a game explore before. So from that perspective, for me, I found it really fascinating, and I hope we get more. But Platinum, I don't think we're getting any more. So. Also, probably worth noting, it was made by a junior team, so all the problems I had with Bayonetta 3, I was like, oh, well, that's a seasoned team kind of struggling. This is a new team coming up through the ranks with their own ideas. And it was like, when this game came out, I was like, oh, I'm not kind of happy where Bayonetta's going. And then once this finished, I was like, do you know what? I'm actually quite confident for the future that these new people have their own ideas and ambitions and things. And then Platinum collapsed, so we're probably not getting that. But I think the director of this game's already left, and obviously we know Kamiya, who directed the others, has left, and all sorts. But I love this game so much. I just want more people to pay attention to it. Not as much as Monkey Ball.
They don't own anything, I think, right? Do they own Bayonetta in any way?
Sega owns the IP,
Mhm.
I think, so they could theoretically just leash it off them.
Yeah.
Nintendo owns the games, aside from the first one, and Nintendo weirdly owns the voice tracks, which is weird. They
Really?
own
There's
the
weird
Japanese
rights
voice.
issues.
They own the Japanese voice track, so whenever the first game's been re-released on like PS4 and things, it's had to be licensed by Nintendo. It's
Okay.
really odd,
Mm.
but yeah, it's
Yeah.
a mess.
So
I expect it to become
in
more of a mess.
theory, going forward, Sega could just like license this
Yank
to
back
someone
control,
else.
hopefully.
Yeah.
It's-
Whoever
Oh,
this
Platinum.
new junior team is, maybe they'll start their own studio and just do something with it. Yeah, who
I
knows?
really hope.
Yeah. Have you played this, Scott?
I actually haven't touched it at all. I haven't even put the game cartridge in my Switch. I'm going to wait until I finish Bayonetta 3 before I play this one. And then obviously I haven't finished it. But it always looks cute when I look at the back of it. I'm like, oh, I'll play this at some point. And I just never have.
Mhm.
I'll get to it eventually. One day. 2034.
Going through the backlog. Yeah, definitely in terms of art style, this is definitely a Casey game. Yeah, for sure. Maybe I'll check it out in the future. Switch 2 again for a measly 500.
Put it on the list.
Okay, so that's it's about time I reveal my what I actually
Drum roll, please.
I don't know. It's like, I don't know if I should actually rank them like this. I had it as number 1, but I think it's a little bit unfair for the other two. But
Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games.
I was actually surprised that Viper didn't mention that. I was expecting that.
So close to putting it on the list, but I think
I
these
was
two just
also
tipped it for me.
close to doing it, but no. This is the thing that I think, as a Sega fan, this made me so happy.
Oh yeah.
This made me really, really happy. So, Sega Ages Virtual Racing came to the Switch in 2019, I think. And this was an amazing release. In my books, like the best Sega Ages release for the Switch. Definitely added multiplayer, played beautifully.
Local 8-player.
Local
Incredible.
8-player. Amazing.
Everyone gets their own screen.
60 FPS.
It just works.
Yeah, it does work. And it's amazing that we could extend this, to the whole Sega Ages series. But if I had to pick one game to represent this series on the Switch, it would be Virtua Racing, not Virtua Fighter, Virtua Racing, definitely, which is the one that I think actually improves upon the original the most. And we're not used to getting this game. We had tons of re-releases of Sonic 1 and Sonic 2.
Oh my god, I can play it again for the 50 millionth time. Thank goodness.
You have
like
the
the
Sega
fourth
Ages
time on
ones.
Switch.
You have the Switch Online add-on versions as well. So, but this,
So you got the Sega Mega Drive Classics
the
version.
Mega
one
Drive
too.
Classics, that's true. Origins, so you can play them to your heart's content. But this one, Virtual Racing, this is the definitive version of Virtual Racing, which I don't think, when we compare the Sega Ages Switch series to the 3D Classics collection on the 3DS, I don't think people really gave M2 as much credit as they did for the 3D Classics collection.
Yeah.
Because we have
Absolutely.
the added 3D effect and like the whole like moving cabinet things and stuff. And when they ported this or all these games to the Switch, wasn't really all that different.
Yeah.
In this case, it is. It's an amazing port, an amazing version of Virtua Racing, and so it's on my top 3 for sure.
This is the
Thank
one.
you, M2.
This is the one. Thank you, M2. So you guys have played this, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Scott, thoughts on this? And this is a good time to plug that video that you did on
So,
Sega Ages for the Switch, right?
Sega Ages, the lineup was overall quite good. There was some misses in it, like Sonic 2, Game Ground, which I was a bit like, I'm not too sure about that one. But then you had some really, really good games like Herzog Zwei, or however you pronounce it.
Zwei!
And then, of course, Virtua Racing. A lot of fun. I'm absolutely terrible at it. Getting around the corners, I'm always banging into the side. But I'd always like kind of launch it up, play it for 3 minutes, and then just kind of turn it off. Get back, come back in like a week later, pick it up again just for a little race. It was a very fun pick up and play kind of game. And I wish there was more Sega Ages titles like this one. But unfortunately, there really wasn't. I think this is probably the most ambitious they got with that lineup.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah. I was going to say something, but I just totally forgot.
I agree. I would have to
Yes.
agree with that point. That was a great point you made.
Viper, what about you? You played this and enjoyed it?
Oh, I loved this. I kept up mostly with Sega Ages as they came out, and like made attempts to kind of actively play all the games, even if it wasn't something I'd played before. And Virtua Racing was something I hadn't played before. The closest I got was I owned it on Mega Drive and never actually got around to playing it. But I'm glad this was my first experience with it because I love Virtua Racing. I wish it had led to more like this on Sega Ages, because this was far and away the fan favorite that came out of it, and far and away also the best way to play the game, unlike some of the others where, yeah, it's definitive if you want to play the original version, but, you know, like Sonic 1, if you want to play a game or a version of Sonic 1 that is identical to the Mega Drive with extra features, then it's a cool version, but nothing beyond that, and it gets usurped the second like the mobile versions were already out. Whereas this, there is nothing to compare it to. There's not anything remotely similar to this on the rest of Sega Ages, or Sega have not really done anything like it before or since. Virtua Racing also just happens to be a really good and influential game, so bonus points for that as well. And from what I remember, it was like a big passion project of M2 in particular, this one title, and it really shows. I believe they wanted it on 3D Classic, since we were talking about that earlier, but didn't have the source code or something like that, so actively between 3D Classics and Sega Ages looked for it in order to be able to bring it to Sega Ages. And I'd still consider it a deep cut, especially when you could do, with a bit more power, admittedly, you could do something like Daytona USA, which is a bit more known. But I'm glad we got it all the same, because it's long deserved an opportunity to shine like this. And I mean, there wasn't many other standout, there was a couple standout titles from Sega Ages that hadn't been re-released endlessly. Like Scott already said, Herzog Zwei was really nice to see, and we had what's its name, Puzzle and Action in English for the first time was really cool. But aside from that, like, most of this is stuff we've all seen before. And don't get me wrong, I love playing it on Switch because I love
G-Lock
the
was
Switch.
pretty cool.
Oh, G-Lock.
Wasn't G-Lock on
And
the
Phantasy Star.
3DS as well?
No.
No.
G-Lock was specifically chosen because they didn't want to do Afterburner again, which I wish
Oh,
they'd
okay.
done for the rest of the titles. They'd done Afterburner so many times, they said they wanted to do G-Lock, which I respect, because it's, as Scott said, one of the more memorable ones for sure.
Yeah.
I love Sega
And also,
Ages.
I'll have to say,
sad.
Yeah, Phantasy Star as well, right?
The Sega Ages
we had
version.
Phantasy Star 2.
I actually played through all of it.
I think it was the first Phantasy Star.
1. It was the first
No,
one.
I mean, before we had Phantasy Star 2, I think, re-released. Wasn't it?
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe
Can't
on
remember
the
now.
On the
Sega Mega Drive
3DS?
Classics.
No, I'm talking
Right.
about like the 3D Classics. No. I'm
I'm
confusing
trying to remember. I
things,
thought
maybe.
it was.
Maybe not. Maybe it's just Phantasy. I'm just thinking about Phantasy Star. I remember Phantasy Star being something important as well. I don't know why we're looking at Scott's wrist with the Joy-Con, but we are. If you're watching the video version,
you can do
it was like
motion controls with this game. Which
with
did
Space
not work
Harrier.
very
Okay,
well
okay.
as well.
Okay.
Yeah, with Space Harrier.
Okay.
Also, I just realized I didn't actually plug it. On YouTube, you can check out a video of me and a bunch of other Sega creators reviewing every single Sega Ages release. So if you want to learn a little bit more about each game, go check it out on YouTube.
I'll leave a link in the description in the show notes. Yeah. Don't worry. Yeah, Phantasy Star was a big thing as well, I think, and I remember playing it. I never completed Phantasy Star, either the Mega Drive version or this, but I played this a little bit more because it had some quality of life improvements. So that's something nice as well. But
I actually
definitely,
finished the Sega Ages version. I fell in love with it. I usually don't like older JRPGs because they're just so grindy. They make no sense of where you're supposed to go. But something about Fantasy Star just absolutely hooked me, and I adored it. I haven't played any other Fantasy Star game, aside for online, of course. But that first one has a special place in my heart now.
okay. I played 3 and 4. I think I finished 4 once. But
Left an impression then.
it did, but I it's like Scott was saying, I don't really enjoy playing older JRPGs, turn-based RPGs. I just started getting into turn-based RPGs recently, in recent years. So when I go back to the older ones that don't have like the quality of life improvements the newer ones have, I struggle. So yeah. I remember what I wanted to say about virtual racing, although that's not what we're watching right now. I wanted to say that it's got the best, very, very, very short soundtrack ever. It's very cool tracks, but so short, like seconds long. So, but it's a great game for many, many reasons. Like Viper said, it's influential. It's very important in terms of like the history of 3D games. So you do need to check this out if you haven't. Play Sega Ages Virtual Racing. In Saturn, I think. If you're in the spirit of Segata Sanshiro, you must play Virtual Racing. Anyway, that's our top 3 Sega games on the Switch that are exclusive to the Switch. Okay, so we're going to spend a little time on our top 3 multi-platform Sega games. Before that, though, should we mention any other specific exclusive game that we didn't talk about?
Not really. It was just Mario and Sonic. Let me check my collection as well.
He has them all. Even if he doesn't, he has them all.
Not really. There was, of course, some Atlas games. Talking about the HD collection from the 3DS games. I forgot what they were called.
Etrian Odyssey. I think that was on Steam.
The HD collection. Oh, there you go. And then, of course, 13 Sentinels, but that also was released on PlayStation. We didn't
Scott,
have many Switch exclusives. The favorite?
Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
I was going to say that.
How can I forget Tokyo Mirage Sessions?
On my list.
FE, Encore.
Not hashtag, is Sharp.
Sharp FE.
My apologies. Yeah, that's how you pronounce it.
Fake fan. Exactly. I got it on the Wii U. I never finished it on Wii U. Mm-hmm. Got it on Switch. I got to the exact same point I got to on Wii U and gave up at the exact same part. And then 2 years later, I picked it up again and I finished it and I loved it. Okay. And I'm happy that I finally got through it.
I hear very good things about it.
On the Switch pile.
Yeah. So people who played this really swear by it. I think I played a demo. Wasn't there a demo for this?
Yeah, I think there was.
Not on the Switch. Okay, there we go.
No, I think there was a Switch demo for it.
Was it the Switch? Sure. Okay. I remember playing the demo. And it's a bit like Persona-ish in a way.
Yes.
Right? It's
basically Persona, but they're idols and they're also Fire Emblem characters.
Of course. Of course.
That's it. That's the whole plot of the game.
Okay. I don't think we're missing anything. Mario and Sonic was for sure. This one was the best one. The 2021 for sure. And also the last one.
I wouldn't say best.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say best.
No, really?
I would say London
2 versus 1
wins that award. You think? Oh, you both.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I really like the
Dream
London
events
one.
in London were the best.
Yeah, the Dream events sucked in Tokyo.
Yeah, but I really like the 8-bit and 16-bit things. They included the elements that were cool.
I'm a sucker for a story mode in minigame compilations, so it worked right in my favor.
Okay, yeah. So that's another one. Obviously, Panzer Dragoon Remake.
Non-exclusive. Non-exclusive.
Nope.
It
Nope.
was.
It was exclusive
For a little bit.
Yeah, it was. Isn't it anymore?
No, it very quickly came to other stuff. It was only
it's
like a few
PC
months.
as well. I know. Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, it's PlayStation and Xbox, I think, too.
House of the Dead, maybe that's still exclusive.
No, that was day and
No,
date.
that's
with
also on
everything
other
else.
consoles.
On that note, though, the
I know
same time they
nothing.
revealed Panzer Dragoon, Shin Megami Tensei 5 was an exclusive for a few years. So
That's
there you
true.
go.
That's true. There we go.
There
Panzer
it is.
Dragoon remake. There was. It's not exclusive anymore, but Persona 5 Strikers. I believe it's not exclusive anymore. Is it?
I don't think it was exclusive
Don't
to
play-
begin with.
Yeah, that was never an exclusive, that one.
I
That
know
one,
nothing.
I think it was. I
came
think
out
it
on
was
PlayStation
Switch
as
and
well.
PlayStation, yeah,
Maybe.
and PC eventually.
I thought it was because it was like everyone wanted Persona 5 Royal. And they said, okay,
then they
we'll give you
didn't.
something. There we go. Persona 5 Strikers. No, that's not what I want. Yeah.
That's not what I wanted at all.
Not at all. Yeah. Okay. So that's the exclusive part. Let's move on to the multi-platform thingies. The thingies also called games. So top 3.
Oh.
Multi-platform Sega games also on Switch. Let's start with Viper this time. What's your number 3?
Sure thing. My number 3 is apparently I didn't realize it got so dark. I just blinded myself. 13 Sentinels.
Okay.
Ooh.
A very recent play from me, but one that I actually played on Switch because Vanillaware love not loving PC, so Switch was my second option because I actually heard it's one of the few games that runs better on runs better on Switch than it does on PS4, which baffled
Really?
me. I think the PS4 was a bit of a rush job, so they actually refined it a little bit on Switch. So I was like, that's a perfect time to play it. Picked it up years ago, never played it, and at some point I just felt inspired, and I'm glad I did. I definitely wouldn't normally play visual novels or tower defense games, which it weaves together in a actually very cohesive way, but it's one of those games where it's entirely for me made by the story. I wasn't huge on the tower defense stuff, but I get why people enjoy it all the same. But there's something so captivating about it because the plot itself is very interesting, but as everyone has said about it, it's the way that it comes together. Because there's 13 Sentinels, meaning there's 13 individual character stories that you've got to run through that kind of all interweave cleverly together. And at the beginning, you're like, is this writing actually any good? Because I can't understand a thing that's going on. And then towards the mid game, you're like, oh, I can see how those two things come together. What about like these other 1000 or whatever? And then towards the end of the game, you're like, I get it. I feel really big brained for understanding this now. And it's like a really touching story at times, but mostly it's just the way it weaves together so cleverly, even though there's so many moving parts. I just found it fascinating and couldn't put it down. And even though I wouldn't have touched it normally, and for example, I wasn't very interested in what's it called, the one that came after it, everyone's darling from last
Unicorn.
year. Yeah, Unicorn Overlord.
Unicorn Overload.
Okay.
I wasn't
Overlord,
too
not
interested
overload.
in that.
it's an overload
Too
of
many
unicorns. Too many.
Yeah, I wasn't too interested there, but definitely something about 13 Sentinels and the way it presented itself just struck the right chord in me. It was really fascinating as a game. So, and it's not a Switch exclusive, but it's probably best played on Switch, which is a rare thing to say.
Apparently.
And you get the portability that we all know and love. So,
yeah,
for me, it's multi-platform, but it is blurring that line enough to where I'm like, it's not an exclusive, but it feels like one to me.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I loved my time of it on Switch.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've been close to buying this game. Because it's the thing is where you said before, I don't think it's my kind of game in terms of genres, but also how everyone talks about it and how it looks makes me think maybe I'll enjoy it, but then I decide nah, maybe not yet. Another Switch 2 pile game, yeah.
And yet again, there it is.
For how
Maybe
much? For how much?
for only for a mere
Just the
Maybe
small
maybe
asking price.
we can do this differently this time. Why don't you run us through the rest of your top 3, Viper?
Okay, sure. I mean, I think I could probably get through them pretty quickly because they're games that have been talked about ad nauseum, generally and definitely on this show. And there's a common theme. They're early in the Switch's life cycle. but
I think I've got 2 of the same then. I think I've got
I
the same
think it's
ones.
two of the same, Scott. I think, is it by any chance Puyo Puyo Tetris, for one? There we go. This will be nice and quick for KC then.
And
Is
let
it
me
Sonic
get
Mania
ready.
by any chance? Hey, there
There
we
we go.
go.
Okay. So one of them overlaps with mine. Okay.
Both perfect use cases for the Switch for me. I got the Switch, like I said, September 2017. So I'd already played Sonic Mania twice. I'd played it on PS4, and then when it came to PC, because of the whole DRM thing, I was like, I'll get it again on PC. And then out of nowhere, just like finances changed, and I had the money for the Switch way earlier than expected. I was like, I don't have any money for games. So do you know what's quite cheap? Sonic Mania. This was before free to play stuff on the Switch, and there was no demos. So Sonic Mania was like one of the cheapest games you get from the eShop. So I was like, well, I'll play it again, and I did quite excessively because I loved my new hardware, and I wanted to play more stuff on it, but couldn't afford anything. So I played Sonic Mania like 3 more times within a month of it coming out. And then, sure enough, when Sonic Mania Plus came out, I enjoyed my time playing it on Switch so much, being able to like take it portably and things like that. That we're showing the Plus trailer here, but when it came out, that was the platform I primarily played it on. But still, to this day, I think probably if you look at my playtime, still mostly on Switch, even after moving like primarily to PC and things like that. I think this for me still feels like a game I like playing on Switch. It's not too demanding. You can have a long battery life as well if you take it on the go compared to like something a bit more taxing. It's easy to like whip out a Joy-Con and say, do you want to play 2-player mode on it? And generally, like, it's a small, quaint experience, but that was something you didn't really get the generation before. Everything was this huge, massive game. So just having this on a handheld kind of felt right because it's a game that could have been on a handheld on the 3DS or something, for example. Like, it's not that far fetched to think of it as that. So it almost eased the transition a bit of like, oh, I'm playing this super high budget game on a handheld. This is really weird. It was a bit less weird to start out with a game that felt like it should be on a handheld, you know. So, and it's a really good game. Let's not forget that. So
It is.
that certainly helped.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
yeah, that was it for me for Mania at least.
Okay. What about the other one?
For your Tetris, also a special place in my heart.
Yeah. I was showing footage of that because I thought you were going to leave with that first, but okay.
Oh, sorry. I went in completely the wrong order. So, unlike Casey, I was apparently a bit of a fake Sega fan because I never had a copy of the game when it was a Japan exclusive for all those years. I only 2016, I think, was when I got my PS4, so not that long before I got my Switch. So by the time this came out, I got it on PS4 first because I had the platform. And then when Switch came out, I was like, this is perfect for the Switch. Same deal, multiplayer, easy to take around, long battery life, things like that. And critically, by Christmas, it was very cheap. It was like a £10 game here. So that made it really easy to rebuy it. And I proceeded to spend way more time on this version than I had on the previous PS4 version because of the portability and especially with like Switch as well. I had a Pro controller, for example, by that point, so I had more controllers, so it's easier to convince new people to play it and things like that. But another really good fit and critically an early Sega title when there weren't many other Sega titles, which doesn't apply to me, but having this month one would have been game changing for sure. Because wasn't it day and date with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for overseas or something like that?
Have
I
no
know
idea.
it was definitely a launch title in Japan, and we took a few months to get it. But I don't know, something. It's the best version of a game that already existed, sure, but it has a lot of like meaningful changes, and critically was arguably like one of the most sought after imports of its time. Like everyone, whenever they were like, "Oh, I'm going to get some games from Japan or whatever," when that conversation would come up, I'd always hear, "I'm getting Puyo Puyo Tetris" while I'm there because I love Tetris. It was always I love Tetris. It was never I love Puyo, but
Yes. So it was released March 3rd in Japan.
so
Europe,
launch
April
day.
28th.
I
So
think that's
close.
the same day as Mario Kart. Yeah, that's
And then
North
look at
America,
Australia.
April 25th. Australia, May 12th.
wow.
Why did we wait so long? Sega, come on. Back in the day,
You
I think
had
this
to
one was
localize
actually,
it. It's a localization.
It-
Yeah, obviously.
and it wasn't even
That's some
published by
slang.
Sega over here. It was published in Australia and Europe by Deep Silver. It was in those
Oh,
days with
yeah.
Yakuza, with
Mm.
Persona 5, that Sega were like, "Now we're not going to make any money off Persona or Yakuza. Let Deep Silver do that."
But it's
My
Deep
favorite-
Weird
Silver
times.
in Europe as well. So
Yeah.
does it really make sense to delay that? But it's like I think Carbuncle says "Blimey" when in the Australian version. I apologize. Anyway,
Was that your attempt at an Australian accent?
no, just a
Is that
word.
meant to be a joke?
Darn it. Okay. So Puyo Puyo Tetris.
Yeah, great. Game.
I got the Vita version. I imported the Vita version back in the day.
I retroactively got it because the Vita was more portable, so I used to play it on the bus to work.
Yeah. And I remember playing it online without knowing really what I was choosing, like in terms of options or whatever. Because the story mode was like inaccessible to me because I couldn't understand a word.
I think those original versions didn't even have story mode. I think that was
I
like a
think
big
they-
thing of.
Didn't they? I do remember that. I think so.
I think it was DLC in Japan.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure
Okay,
it was
maybe.
DLC over there.
Maybe.
So that was like a big thing with the Switch version was bundling it in for the first time. From what I recall.
Okay. I do remember. Did I get the DLC as well somehow? Maybe. Could be. But yeah. But Puyo Puyo Tetris didn't really make my top 3, but it was very, very close. Because as I said before, it was one of the games that I played the most back when it was released, 2017. So it was almost a launch game. It's like a launch window game. So
Yeah.
definitely something that we were all collectively invested in. I played this so much online. Again, I'm decent at Tetris, not very good at Puyo. So I was always hoping to not find Japanese Puyo players online. Whenever I got a Western Puyo player or a worldwide Tetris player, I was okay. But then if I found a Japanese Puyo player, I
It's
just
over.
Oh, my connection, it's
over.
dropping.
Turn it
Oh
off.
no.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, what's happening? My Wi-Fi. This Switch and this Wi-Fi. It's like, why? Which is something that people complained about. Anyway, Puyo Puyo Tetris. So, let's recap. 13 Sentinels.
Yep.
Aegis Rim. Puyo Puyo Tetris. Sonic Mania. No. Sonic Mania and Puyo Puyo Tetris. Number 1.
Yes.
Right? In that
Yeah, I think
order.
so,
3,
yeah.
2, 1. Okay. Scotty, what about you? What's your top 3 of multi-platform
Alright, my
games?
top 3. Surprising. You're not going to believe this. You're not going to believe it. 2 of my 3 are Sonic Mania
Okay.
and Puyo Puyo Tetris.
What?
Shock.
It's crazy. Crazy, I know. Puyo Puyo Tetris, I absolutely adored. Played it so much when it first launched. Of course, when the Switch first came out, you had Breath of the Wild. You had Mario Kart 8, which I played on Wii U heaps before. You had Bomberman, I guess.
Bomberman
And then
R.
Puyo Puyo
Super
Tetris
Bomberman
came out.
R. Yeah.
And I absolutely adored it. I never actually owned any Puyo Puyo game before this. So technically, this is my first ever Puyo Puyo game, if you don't include Mean Bean Machine. And I got all my friends to play it and love it too. Even my friends who don't game, I managed to get their heads around Puyo Puyo. And anytime I'd have a gathering, would always put this one on. And we always had so much fun with it. And it has so much more, I guess, heart and charm over it compared to Puyo Puyo Tetris 2, which should be a better game because it's got more features and more modes and that. But there's something about the first one that just, it feels like it's got more of a heart to
But
it.
Scott,
And it just,
you can re-buy Puyo Tetris 2 on the Nintendo Switch too.
and don't get me started. Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S coming to Switch 2. when I saw that, I was like, don't get me started on that one. Don't get me that one. That one grinds my gears, as they say.
Really, I was actually thinking of, oh, this is a good time to finally get Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 because I
Yeah, if you
never
don't
got it.
have it, it's a good time.
I will get
Yeah.
on the next flight to Portugal right now.
Or
if you
should
keep
I
saying that.
buy the Switch version and then pay the
It's
10
very cheap
extra?
on Switch,
Yeah, the 10
unless
extra
you
euros
desperately
or whatever.
want to use the mouse controls, which is basically the only difference. Actually, I think there's like a co-op mode where you can play on the same board. That's cool. Why is that not a free update?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, yeah, but is it worth
Because
this
money.
whole S version? Sonic Mania. It's Sonic Mania. I don't really have to say much more than that. I'm trying to keep it quick so we can get to KC's list. But yeah, Sonic Mania. It's an amazing game. If you haven't played it, well, to quote Reggie, what's wrong with you? My third pick was very difficult. I was going through the list of games. I was like, I don't know what to. 2 Point Campus, maybe, but that one's much better on PC with mouse controls. Persona 5 is a great choice, but I thought that would have been too obvious. So I went with a game that the series has a very, very special place in my heart. The first game in the series I absolutely adore. It's one of my favorite games of all time. The second game, I only played a little bit of it. The third game, I haven't touched at all because it was a Japan exclusive. Any guesses? Any
I
guesses?
know what it is. I know what it is. It's on my list.
Oh, it's on your list too.
It's
It is
Valkyria Chronicles 4.
Valkyria
Yes.
Chronicles
Cool.
4. Absolutely
Yes.
adored this game,
Okay.
similar to the first one. Love the characters, especially. I just love the gameplay of this. Such a great combination of a turn-based JRPG and a third-person shooter. Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. I'll let Casey do the talking for this game
No,
because
please.
I'm tired.
Go
It's
ahead.
it's like 1:30 in the morning. I've run out of words. Casey, please talk about this game for me.
Yeah. So this was my games, my list, my top 3 is Sonic Mania Plus, Streets of Rage 4,
What a surprise. Good choice.
and
good choice.
Valkyria Chronicles 4. I debated between 1 and 4, but 4 is arguably the best game. So I really, really enjoyed it. I can't say enough good things about this series, especially the first and fourth games. Don't play Valkyria Revolution, I think it was called. Don't play that.
That was
That's-
an interesting one. That was.
That was a mistake. That's the best way to put it. But Valkyria Chronicles 4, 1 and 4 are very good and similar in a way, but 4 is definitely
Plays off.
the best one. I don't know what Scott is doing for. Okay, if you're watching this, go to YouTube and watch the video version. That's amazing. Ragnarok, right? Is it the name of the doggy? Ragnarok?
He's still muted.
We can't. You're muted. We can't hear you.
I
You
was
have to-
muted. Sorry, everyone.
Okay.
If you got the PAL version of the game, you also got a Ragnarok sticker. But if you got the American version, it came with controller stickers to put on your Joy-Cons, which were hideous. I think EU and Australia won on that one.
Okay. Yeah, but so play Valkyria Chronicles. Play Valkyria Chronicles 1
Play it.
and 4 especially. 2 is good as well. 3 was Japan exclusive, so I never played it, never touched it. But 1 and 4 are probably the best ones. And 4 improves upon 1 in ways that I don't think 2 ever did. And it's set in the same time period as 1. But you're like a different squad. You play as part of a different
yes.
squad. There's like a side story that is adjacent to the one in 1. But
And there was a DLC that actually had the first game's characters kind of mix
Yeah.
with the characters of 4, which I thought was really, really cool.
you also battle one of the characters from the original one as well. So there's some intersection there somewhere. But it's definitely a series that I really, really love, and which is hard for me to explain why. Not really hard because the games are awesome, but I don't, as I said before, I don't really enjoy usually like turn-based games. I do now, but it's like a more recent thing. This series was the first one that it got me into thinking maybe I should look into this more. And it's actually, even if they're turn-based games, you can actually complete them quite quickly if you know what you're doing. Like each mission, you actually get a grade at the end of each mission, and if you know what you're doing, to get like an S grade, you have to really be quick about it. Like, which is, there's a challenge that I enjoy as well. You can
Exactly.
definitely.
Everyone says hashtag let's get Shenmue 4. I say hashtag let's get Valkyria Chronicles 5.
Begin
I would
there.
say there are more chances of that happening. Maybe I don't know.
I feel slight.
Maybe, but Valkyria Chronicles 4, and I got this on the Switch. I've got this on PC. Played it on my Steam Deck as well. Haven't finished that yet on the Steam Deck, so maybe need to get to it as well. Definitely recommend it. That's my first pick. If I had to rank them, this would be my number one. Number two would be Streets of Rage 4, which we haven't talked about yet. A game that I've played to death and still play today. I preferred you with the hat on.
Oh,
okay.
I'm sorry.
You look better, but okay. Streets of Rage 4 is an amazing game. I don't think it gets enough credit. People don't talk about it enough. I think it's still a really good beat 'em up in a time where beat 'em ups were not that popular anymore. I think this was one of the games that made this genre make a resurgence. There we go.
Yeah.
This maybe Shredder's Revenge, TMNT Shredder's Revenge as well. I think both of these games were very important to make this genre get a new breath of life. And I really love this. And then we had the DLC. And Scott, you were showing the other version that let me. There we go. The anniversary edition, which included Mr. X's Nightmare.
Mr. X.
Right?
Exactly.
And that's very addictive. I still play that every now and then, like every month, a couple of times. I spend a few hours on the endless mode. Really, really cool. Can't recommend this enough. So that's my number 2 on the list. And for my number 3, Sonic Mania Plus, you guys said everything there was to say. Another vinyl.
There we go. We got the
another
Mr.
vinyl.
X, Streets of Rage vinyl. Music composed by T. Lopes, which is very, very cool.
So I want to shout out Olivier de Rivière. the no, not like this. It's not Italian. It's French. So Olivier de Rivière. Oui. The baguette. I apologize for that. I'm pissing off French people now. All season French people. The soundtrack to the main game is also very good. Includes Yuzo Koshiro as well, and some tracks are amazing. But T. Lopes did an amazing job for the DLC. So good job all around. You want to show something else? What do you want to show? What do you have there?
I got another. It's just the same vinyl. It's the same vinyl.
Okay,
Don't worry.
it's the back of the vinyl. Yeah. So I think those were pretty good picks. I want to, do you guys have any specific thing here, any specific game we didn't mention that you want to give a shout out to? That people should play?
Nothing comes to mind.
I wanted to mention something. Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom.
Ooh.
Really like that
Switch
game.
2 pile.
Switch 2 pile. You've never played that? Really?
No, incredibly not.
Really good. There you go. It's like a Wonder Boy series game, but it is, yes. But nothing. It is a Wonder Boy series game. Yeah, it is.
It was interesting because when they first kind of brought it up, it was just going to be a spiritual successor and not really have any kind of direct connections to the actual series. But then obviously some point along the line, they actually got the Wonder Boy kind of trademark for this game, because on the back it actually has 30th anniversary Wonder Boy anniversary kind of thing. So yeah, it's very, very cool.
So
also, T. Lopes does the intro for this as well.
Yeah. What happened with that was they got in touch with the creator of Wonder Boy, and he said, "Why don't we make this a proper Wonder Boy game?" This was going to be like a spiritual successor to this, but it was more like a sequel. They had I can't remember, Flying Hamster, I think, was the first of the name of the first game they made. And they wanted to make a second one. I think they went to Kickstarter for this. They said it was a spiritual successor to Wonder Boy, but they couldn't use the assets. But then the creator of Wonder Boy saw it and said, no, let's make it a proper Wonder Boy thing. They couldn't use the name, so they went with Monster Boy.
That's close enough. It
That's
gets the
close
point
enough.
across.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and actually, you should listen to episode 102 of the SEGA Lounge for the story behind that. I interviewed one of the people behind that game, Fabien de Millionaire.
Oui,
And
oui.
again,
No, not like this. No, that's metaphor. Re fantasio. It's like, okay. Any other special shout-outs? Any games we haven't mentioned?
I'm racking my brain, and I still can't think of them.
There
Love
are
the
many,
Switch.
many games on the Switch. So just
There
look
are-
them up.
there are.
There's
I would
one
say
that
Yeah. Oh, you go.
no, please. I just want to say Darius Burst CS
Oh yeah,
Chronicle Saviors, if I'm not
There we
mistaken.
go.
There's a Sega DLC for
There it
that. Oh,
is.
there we go. Even that one. Okay. This is not really a Sega game, but it's and I haven't played this on the Switch. Apparently you at least have the game, Scott. But there's Sega DLC. There's Fantasy Zone, Space Harrier, I believe. Galaxy Force?
Thunderstorm, I think it is?
yeah,
Galaxy
Galaxy
Force?
Force.
Yeah.
I don't know, one of those forces, and it's really good. It's a really good reimagining of those games as well, and it's the game itself. It's a pretty good shmup or shump, like our good friend I Need Fruit used to say.
I'm gonna mix it up a little bit. This is on my Steam Deck list. This has been in my. I have a folder on Steam of I really need to play this soon, and it's been in there for like a year. I'll get to it eventually. I swear. I didn't actually know it was on Switch, so Switch 2 pile contender.
There we go. Scott, you were mentioning something before I interrupted you.
Yeah, I was something that I added to the planning of this show is kind of talk quickly about kind of the weird, obscure Sega titles. We've kind of touched on them a little bit, where we have some companies produce games that are Sega IP but aren't published directly by Sega. So of course you've got the Monster Boy games. You've got stuff like Wonder Boy Returns Remix, which is a not so good remake of the first ever Wonder Boy game. We've got the collection, which very weirdly got released 2 times. Once with only a fraction of the titles, and then a limited run version of 3,000 copies, which includes every version of Wonder Boy.
Isn't gaming
weird
great?
I
choice
don't,
there.
was it limited run or strictly strictly
I think
limited?
Strictly limited.
Yeah, strictly limited.
Wonder Boy.
Which was the one that
Um,
I actually bought. I have it somewhere.
We got a lot of Wonder Boy on Switch as well. So we've got the Asher and Monster World
Yes.
Wrong one.
remake, and then of course Dragon's Trap, which eventually of course led on to such titles.
As
yeah,
Streets of
like,
Rage 4.
Streets
as
of Rage, and
the
now
upcoming
Shinobi.
Shinobi. Yeah.
We also in this time as well during the Switch saw Sega team up with such wonderful companies like Limited Run Games. So we now have, of course, games that were originally digital only see physical releases like Persona 3 Portable, Persona 4 Golden. One that I thought was pretty cool though, Alien Isolation on Nintendo Switch. Really, really good port. But then you got some strange.
I think it's the only version of Alien Isolation that I don't own at this point.
You gotta get on it. Well, if you want it physical, enjoy the scalpers on eBay. That's why I still got mine still. But then you got some really kind of obscure releases, such as Clockwork Aquario. I'm not sure how you pronounce
It's
this one.
on my list. Aquario,
It's
I
on my
think so.
Switch 2
Yeah.
list.
It's on my list. I'm on my something list. Yeah.
This was a game that never got completed and released back in the day. It was originally going to be an arcade game. And then when all these Wonder Boys games were coming out and re-releases and all that kind of stuff, I think someone just maybe found it in like the archives and they were like, you know what? Let's just finish it up. Let's release it on Switch. Get a digital version and then also a release by Strictly Limited Games, who are also doing the collector's edition for Air Twister, which I've been waiting over 2 years for. Please release
I've
it.
waited 3
Bring
for
it out.
something.
Clockwork
It's-
Aquario is a Guinness World Record holder for
Oh, yeah.
longest
Oh.
time in development, I believe.
That's
Because
interesting. I
they're
did not know
counting
that.
it
Wow.
like all the years they weren't working on it. It's part of the development time, so that's why it's a record holder.
And then you got kind of Sega publishing games in certain countries, but not in others, which is not something you see anymore. Back in the day, you used to see that like Sega published a game in America, but they wouldn't publish it in Europe. Sega have been doing this in the Asian territories of like Southeast Asia, Singapore, Malaysia, all that kind of stuff. I picked up a few of their releases that had English support. So, for example, Disgaea 5 on Nintendo Switch in Southeast Asia was
So
published
me
by
still.
Sega. Very strange. We've got Best Fitness Game Zumba, published by Sega in Japan.
Yes.
So I'm assuming we can put all of the Zumba soundtrack on Radio Sega now.
I can't see any issues with that whatsoever coming.
No. And then I found this online on Buyee for like 70 cents one day for a bid, and no one was buying it. So I was like, you know what? I'll get it. And I still have no idea what this game is, but it was published by Sega, developed by NetEase Games. It's some kind of battle royale, Fortnite, PUBG kind of thing. But we've got this game here. God knows what that is. If anyone knows what this game is,
Do tell us,
if you
please.
played it, do let us know. Is this one of your favorite Sega games? I look at this and it just makes me want the Conduit 3 for Nintendo Switch.
Okay,
It should have
okay.
happened.
And because you were mentioning
yeah.
Zumba, there we go.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Samba de Amigo, who? No, Zumba all the way.
Zumba's where it's at. There we go.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of weird Sega releases that aren't obvious, but they have some kind of connection to Sega still. So there's a lot. My whole table now is just littered with just Sega Switch games now.
Thank you for that, Scott. Thank you for piling everything on your table for this.
The things I do for you, Casey.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Yeah. Okay, so we've got about 5 minutes to go before we wrap things up. So I wanted to hear your thoughts on the Switch too. That's why we did this episode. I actually had this planned for last season because I was assuming we would hear about the release of Switch 2 last year, but then it didn't happen. And I wanted to say goodbye to the Switch properly with a special Sega Games on Switch episode. But now that we know more about the Switch 2, it's been revealed. It's coming out June 5th, if I'm not mistaken, for a very, very low price everywhere. Thoughts,
So low.
guys? Was it what you were expecting? Not planning on getting it? Right now, immediately, no.
Yes and no.
Yes or no? So I could go first. I'm
Yeah.
still debating whether to pick it up on launch or not. It is indeed a lot of money, and I wasn't expecting it to be so much. I was expecting we're on the $400 $400/euro window. But is it like three? Is it £450? Viper?
It's
No,
three
four.
$390,
$390.
and the
okay.
Mario Kart one's $430. So everyone's just getting the Mario
Okay,
Kart because
okay.
£80 games, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Yeah. So it's like $450, and I think it's like €460 or something, €465, and €510 for the Mario Kart bundle, and $500, I think. What about?
And have a guess how much you think it is in Australian dollars. Have a guess. Go on. Throw some
1,000.
numbers out.
No, $750 for the Mario Kart bundle. No,
So
much?
close. $770 for the Mario Kart
See?
bundle, and
Weirdly,
$700 for the regular version.
Okay.
weirdly expected it to be worse.
I know it's not like double the price, double the dollars. Australian dollar is not that low. But yeah, but so I think price is the major thing that's holding me back, and I think most people. I'm considering it because although this is the Sega Lounge, and we're all big Sega fans, I'm also a big Nintendo fan, and I really enjoy the Switch. And I'm really excited to replay Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom with all the new bells and whistles.
And not Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S.
Also
Come on.
also that for the first time, maybe. Mario Kart World also looks good. And I wonder what that means for Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. It looks like this was the way to go, but we'll see. I'll hold judgment for now. But yeah, I'm still debating whether or not to get it on day one. But it looks good. It looks like they're moving in the direction that everyone else is moving, like focusing on power and stuff. Although they don't really have a powerful machine or as powerful as everyone else, so maybe they shouldn't be focusing too much on that. So I'm curious to see what the future holds, what like the next like 2 years look like in terms of releases, first party releases, which is, let's be frank, that's what we get Nintendo consoles for, right? It's for the first party games. But also, if I can get like a better performing version of Picross S Mega Drive and Master System Edition.
Okay.
And like this game as well, give it better version of
Please.
this.
Oh, that's a
This
very good
game.
shout. That's a very good shout. Yeah, I don't have the Switch version of that for obvious reasons, but I would love
What do you
to
mean?
try it. Yeah, I would love to try it on the Switch 2 in this case. What about you guys? Thoughts, concerns, trepidations?
Greenback.
Oh, I was going to throw to the Nintendo fan first, who
Let him cook.
basically, I think I'm the only one here who's actually attempted to get it on launch. Reason being is it's not like a lump sum or anything, so I'd already been putting aside some money for it anyway. So at that point, it was like, well, I've already got a chunk of this stashed away, so this money's not burning a hole in my pocket otherwise. So I guess I don't know. I've been looking forward to the Switch 2 for a long time. I loved the hardware of the first one, just obviously overstayed its welcome a tiny bit longer. Not that I hated it by any means, but it was just struggling to keep up once the PS5 and Xbox dropped, especially. But even despite that, I still loved the exclusives. That was mainly, as Casey says, what I kept buying come like future years in the Switch. But going forward, I mean, they've already got some good exclusives looking at it, and Sega's not doing too good in terms of like, there's some cool stuff, but it's nothing like, oh my god, I need to get it for that. Except F-Zero GX, but I already own that game, but that's besides the point. We're not going to get into this. But yeah, it's like, were I putting the lump down, it'd be ridiculous, but the fact that I already had some aside was like, I'm kind of curious still to check this out, I guess. So, I don't know. I'm interested, just the price was the only off-putting thing. Everything else about the console is the upgrades I've been looking for a long time, and I think that was the general sentiment. And I think there's a reason they left all that stuff out of the Direct, was it backfired a little bit, but leave the exciting stuff in the reveal, and that's what they did. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it.
Just to clarify, I'm also considering getting it on launch, and I probably will. I'm just trying to, I don't know, convince myself that I should pay this much money for it.
A lot of money.
I've also been preparing myself for that for the past few months because I knew it would be coming out soon. So I was already putting money aside for that.
It'll be a reasonable price.
Still, I don't. Yeah, it's a lot of money, but still, yeah. Scott.
As the co-owner of the dead YouTube channel Nintendo Lounge, who purchased the Nintendo Switch day one and was first morally in line for the Nintendo Switch. I will not be getting a Nintendo Switch 2 on launch. Aside from just the price of it and then the price of games as well, I've got such a massive Nintendo Switch collection by itself. I have about
Couldn't
300
tell.
physical Switch games. That I'm like, you know what? I think I can wait off a little bit. Let's play the games that I actually have first before I spend thousands of dollars into more games that I'll put on a shelf and never play. Let's just go through the backlog for a bit and maybe get one secondhand down the line on Facebook Marketplace. Yeah, that's the plan. Will I end up maybe going ahead and buying it day one? Maybe. But at this current moment in time, my plan is to wait out a bit, play the games I have, and then pick it up secondhand for a cheaper cost.
The FOMO is real, though. Yeah, I mean, that's the responsible choice. Yeah, for sure. So I applaud you. I'm thinking the exact opposite as a way to justify buying it on day one. I have lots of Switch games that I need to complete or play for the first time in my backlog. So, and I'm not picking up my Switch as much as anymore. It's still my launch Switch, so I never got an OLED or like one of those like refresh models. My Joy-Con are the original ones and they drift a lot. So I'm thinking maybe this is the excuse that I was waiting for to, okay, yeah, I obviously don't have all those different models. And that's my excuse to maybe go back and play the games that I need to play from the Switch 1 era. And I'm going to end up just playing Mario Kart World and Breath of the Wild countless hours, as I know myself. Yeah, but who knows what's going to happen? Yeah, maybe we'll check up on you guys later, like in a couple of months, and see if you're the proud new owners of Switch 2s. Guys, thank you very much for joining me for this episode of the Sega Lounge. Where can people find you? Where can people send you the hate mail from this episode for not picking Panzer Dragoon Remake as your top one Switch game of all time?
Sorry.
Viper.
Yeah, you can find me at the Green Viper 8 on most things. Most things in this instance being mainly like Blue Sky, Twitch, and maybe some other places I'm forgetting. There's way too many nowadays, as we always seem to comment on, but just search it and you'll probably find me somewhere that you pay attention to. But otherwise, you can catch me on Radio Sega, where you might be hearing this or you might not. So it's your decision at that point.
Okay, no pressure.
No pressure, guys.
Yeah. Dr. Skotnik.
G'day guys, Dr. Skotnik here. You can find me on all the socials, your Twitters, your Blue Sky, your Instagram, your Twitch, your YouTube, at Dr. Skotnik. Chuck us a follow. And last thing I have to say, my most anticipated Nintendo Switch Sega title, still to this day, has to be Endless Dungeon. I can't wait for that game to release on Nintendo Switch. I don't think that game's coming anymore.
Not coming to Switch, not coming
Sega.
through Sega.
Sega title. Yeah. I have to say, by the way, 2 Point Museum on Switch 2 is rather appealing. Because I wanted to play that game. And when I saw it was coming for the Switch 2, I was like, maybe that's a good excuse to play this on a new piece of hardware and use like those mouse controls.
Not on Switch 1 either.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So that's another thing to consider. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me. As for the Sega Lounge, you know where to find us. You're watching or listening to this, so you know. But you can find us on socials at the Sega Lounge.
That's what they were listening to.
This is the Sega Lounge. Mind blowing. Obviously, our main one, Blue Sky, at thesegaLounge.com. Be sure to follow our podcast on thesegaLounge.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We started actually a very new, very short series. The series is not short, the videos are short. A series of short videos called 30 Seconds of Sega Education, featuring many of the questions I have asked to our guests throughout the years, throughout these 11 years of show, about Sega titles. Like, what's the main antagonist in the Echo the Dolphin series, which is the Vortex?
Main antagonist of Shenmue.
Of Shenmue, Ryo Hazuki. No, that's another thing. So thank you very much for watching / listening. Be sure to check us out next week. We'll be back with more of the Sega Lounge. Until then, bye-bye. See ya. Bye-bye.